Hello, random person.
What the hell was that?
What are you doing in the middle of nowhere?
Just, waiting for my train home. Why do you ask?
Would you like to become an MLG train spotter?
I'm good, thanks.
I'm not taking no for an answer. Let's begin.
Hold on, I didn't ask for this.
The act of train spotting is a pastime hobby in which people can take photos of, film, write down or even just watch trains pass by a location. It can be done in any country in the world that has trains in it, except Egypt lol. And the entry requirements are overall very low with no minimum or maximum age range. To become an MLG train spotter and not become a menace to society, you should follow these tips and tricks that I'm about to give you.
So what makes you qualified to give us tips on this?
I have been going out and filming trains for the best part of 14 years and thus, I feel more than qualified to give you this important advice. That is, of course, unless you don't want it.
Well, I don't.
Too bad. It's important to understand the basics of train spotting, as it can be quite complex for new people to get a grasp of it. Why not test my knowledge by asking me a question to get things started? Oh, and be a bit more positive please.
If there's one thing I do know about the railways here, it's that fares are bloody expensive. Is there anything I can do about that?
Yes, actually. In the UK, the rail card is an option which provides a discount on train travel. It's only worth considering if you travel enough to break even with the cost of buying one in the first place. Rail cards can be physical and fit in your wallet or be loaded on an app on your phone, but you must take it with you if you plan to use it. There are currently 9 different rail cards to choose from, each color coded. You can also travel outside of peak times and on the weekend for cheaper fares. However, this can sometimes result in missing certain trains or services that run in the peak. The current selection of rail cards provided can be used at specific age ranges, being disabled, having a family or a friend, living in the southeast of England, or being a veteran in the armed forces.
So what if I'm aged between 31 and 59, I'm not disabled, I'm not in the armed forces, I don't have any friends or family, and I live in Lincoln? Is there a rail card for me?
No. In that case you're screwed, mate. Work harder and move to the southeast. On the plus side, you can also use websites such as British Rail Fares and Split My Fare to help find out ticket prices for where you plan to go. Anything else?
Is there a right camera or camcorder to use? What about the one on my phone?
The answer to this question wholly depends on so many factors. What is your budget? Do you use a tripod? How knowledgeable are you on using a camera in the first place? One thing is certain though, don't shell out for something expensive if you're starting out. Start small and compare different cameras and camcorders to find which one is right for your budget. Speaking of mobile phones, over the span of 20 years, taking pictures and recording videos on a mobile phone has turned from a joke to a perfectly viable recording method. Plenty of the films I've used in the railway review videos have been filmed on my own phone, the Xiaomi Mi 11. So don't feel obligated to buy a camcorder if you're more than happy of what your own phone is capable of recording. We shall now go more into the basics of filming trains. However, to ensure that we are abiding by our quality standards, we have outsourced the following section to a train spotter with plenty of experience under his belt. Some say that he uses sunscreen with an SPF of -420 and that he once traveled to Liverpool ironically. All we know is that he's called Black Sands from Undertale.
Really?
Yes, and he's charging us by the second, so pay close attention.
Thank you, mate. One of the important things to remember with train spotting is that it's an outdoor activity which can potentially see you standing in a location for a long period of time. So make sure you dress appropriately for the day, wear comfortable shoes, and please check the weather before you leave the house. Cumulonimbus clouds always lick their lips when they see people without a coat and umbrella. Likewise, the sun licks its lips anytime they see poor train spotters without a bottle of water and a hat during the summer heat wave. On the topic of actually filming trains, you want to be in a location that offers offers a good view of oncoming traffic, but at the same time, is in a safe and sensible position that does not endanger or obstruct other people. You should never trespass onto the railway, no matter how desperate you are to get your photo into Rail magazine. Whilst for some it may be worryingly tempting for you to climb over the odd fence, or stray closer to the railway for your footage, you must fight this urge and remember that the safety of yourself and others should be the highest priority. Remember, there is no scenario in which a person gets hit by a train, where the train comes off worse. Also, this stupidity ends up in network rail redacting train information, making it harder for the rest of us. Don't be a bellend. Even when there are no trains in sight, a large portion of the network is electrified at a power easily enough to cause severe burns or death. Even the main rails themselves are electrified with track circuits, which you cannot see. It's called electrocution, not electro. Oh, my thumb hurts, for a reason. Knowing this, here are some examples of good and bad positions to film trains in. Sensible, not sensible. Sensible, not sensible. Sensible, 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 not sensible, not sensible, not sensible. If you are using a mobile phone to record, you should never film in portrait mode, ever. It looks juvenile and isn't as pleasing to watch or look at than landscape. If I ever catch you filming a train in portrait mode, this anomalous entity will be swiftly dispatched to abduct you, and it knows where you live, by the way. Modern grudges aside, I shall now teach you the basics on how to film a train. I will not be using the zoom function on my camera for these shots and will instead focus on basic tracking and panning shots, which are easy for you to start and replicate. We shall practice filming trains here at Battersea Park, since this station has a healthy mix of trains passing through and stopping. Let's begin. When the train approaches, record. Don't worry if you press record too early, you can always edit this once you get home. Keep your camera in a level and stable position as the train approaches closer and closer. The trick that I use for tracking a train is to visually lock onto an object on it. In this case, the coupler. Watch again and you can see how I track the coupler as I turn around. Speeding up as it gets closer but slowing down as it gets further away from the camera. Let's do it again with another train. This time I will track the rearmost door on this 377 passing through. Let's see that slowed down again. And now once more with another 455 passing by us in the opposite direction. With enough practice, you can pull off some MLG tracking shots of trains even without the use of a tripod or other leveling device. Combined with the right lighting and weather conditions, you can end up with some excellent looking footage, even when used with a device that can fit in your pocket. I am not going to teach you how to edit your footage for uploading onto the internet, but I highly recommend not having overly loud obnoxious EDM or dubstep music in the intro of your videos. We're here to watch trains, not listen to your questionable taste in music. A final bit of advice, don't feel disheartened if your footage doesn't end up being as good as you wanted or even popular. We all have to start from somewhere, especially with a new hobby. Practice will never result in perfection, but you will never get better without practicing in the first place. Good luck.
Thanks for your help, Black Sands from Undertale. Your check is in the post.
Alright. Let's try and add an ounce of seriousness to this discussion. Are there any good stations to film at?
Now that's quite a broad question. To a large extent, it is possible to film at any station in the world, but the answer to this question wholly depends on where you live, how much money and free time you have, and what do you want to see. Do you want to film passenger trains stopping at a location every 3.7 seconds? How about the sight of express trains passing at speeds up to or above 125 miles per hour? Do you want to watch freight trains crawl with over 9,000 tons of cargo in tow, or see the rare steam rail tour that totally won't be replaced with a diesel locomotive part way through? Once you work that out, you can go to the next step of actually deciding where to go. That being said, I'll be happy to share a few locations that I would recommend for beginner train spotters. Clapham Junction is a station located in southwest London, which offers a healthy selection of train stopping and passing through on suburban and regional services. You can get a great view of the main lines from the London ends of platforms 5 and 6, and if you time your visit right, you may even get a chance to see the odd freight train passing through here too. Stratford is not a nice area, but if you want to get footage of trains on the Great Eastern Main Line, including Crossrail and container traffic to the port of Felixstowe, it's one of the better options for trains in sheer numbers. Stations further up the line like in Gateston and Kelvedon are recommended if you want a quieter amount of traffic. Despite being in the north and automatically inferior to my previous suggestions, Doncaster is a great station for seeing a wide variety of both passenger and freight trains, including trains passing at 100 miles per hour. Even if you only spend 15 minutes here, you are guaranteed to see 3 or 4 different trains here. You are more than welcome to share other places you would recommend for train spotting in the comments section, regardless of what country you live in.
Or what about the stations that aren't good to film at?
Well, despite it being possible to film at any station, there are 3 stations I would highly discourage people filming trains at in particular. Those being any of the Heathrow Airport stations. As seen from this leaked Heathrow Express training video, the staff here tend to be in the mindset that any person filming a train has direct links with terrorism and will do anything to ensure you don't film that class 345 departing, in case Osama bin Laden ends up being resurrected somehow. Now, to say all staff are like this would be absurd, but if you want to avoid unneeded arguments and antics, it's best to avoid filming at these stations if you ask me. Random person, what do you have to say about what you've learned today?
Well, my train's not coming anytime soon. Well, I learned an awful lot today against my will. Train spotting seems like a really fun hobby. You just got to be a respectful and decent person, that's all. One problem though, my train isn't turning up and there aren't any Ubers around here, so I guess I'll just have to walk it to Cambridge.
That concludes our lesson for being an MLG train spotter today, folks. Go out there, film a whole bunch of trains across the world, and most importantly, have fun.